Hey, what up? This your boy Dante Allen, and thank you for joining me for the Weekly Breakdown. And the Weekly Breakdown is where we take a deeper dive into the content that we talked about during the Weekly Devo. This week we talked about reconciliation and how the first step toward reconciliation is forgiveness. Let's go ahead and get into it. So in our Devo this week, we talked about reconciliation and how the first step toward reconciliation is forgiveness. And when we think about those broken relationships and those relationships that cause us pain, like we feel real feelings. The things that we've experienced and feel are real. However, I believe that when we start to move toward forgiveness, that's when we're really able to start moving toward becoming whole and getting healed by God. So when we think about forgiveness, sometimes we have the perspective that forgiveness is letting this person get away with what they did to us. But I don't believe that that's the case. I believe that when we forgive, we're actually giving that person over to God and allowing God to handle that situation. The story we talked about is found in 1 Samuel chapter 23 and 24. And we see King Saul, who is the king of Israel, getting very insecure about David, who was anointed to be the next king of Israel. So he decided to try to take David out. I mean, he tried to hurt him bad. But before he could catch up with David, David flees the country. And we pick the story up starting in chapter 23 and verse 7. And it says, "Now it was told to Saul that David had come to Keilah. And Saul said, God has given him into my hand. For he has shut himself in by entering a town that has gates and bars. And Saul summoned all the people to war to go down to Keilah to seize David and his men." So at this point, Saul was ready to take David out, and he found out where he was, so he went down there. But then David caught Saul slipping. We're going to find that in chapter 24. It says, "And the men of David said to him, Here is the day of which the Lord said to you, Behold, I will give your enemy into your hand, and you shall do to him as it shall seem good to you." Then David arose and stealthily cut off a corner of Saul's robe. And afterward David's heart struck him, because he had cut off the corner of Saul's robe. He said to his men, "The Lord forbid that I should do this thing to my Lord, the Lord's anointed, to put out my hand against him, seeing he is the Lord's anointed. See, my father, see the corner of your robe in my hand. For by the fact that I cut off the corner of your robe and did not kill you, you may know and see that there is no wrong or treason in my hand. I have not sinned against you, though you hunt my life to take it." Now jump over to verse 12. It says, "May the Lord judge between me and you. May the Lord avenge me against you, but my hand still shall not be against you." So what we see in this story is, even though Saul was intentionally trying to hurt David and hurt him in some ways, David had a chance to retaliate, but he chose not to, and he chose to give Saul over to God. He chose to walk toward forgiveness as opposed to holding on to that grudge that he could have held on to. I think two things that we can take away from this is, number one, understanding that forgiveness is giving someone over to God. Forgiveness isn't forgetting what that person did, but it's walking toward healing and giving that person to God so that he can deal with them the way that he desires to. I'll say it again, when you forgive someone, you're not letting them get away with what they did, but you are giving it over to God. Second thing is, forgiveness is a process. It takes time. It's not something that you wake up and just say, "Oh yeah, I think I'm just going to forget his cat." No, like it's going to take time, and that is okay. You don't have to forgive somebody right away. Maybe it'll take some months. Maybe it'll take some years. But I believe that the most important thing is you are on the path toward healing. And as you're on the path toward healing, that you come to a place where you can give that person over to God. That is forgiveness. Alright? Hey, what up? This is your boy Dante Allen, and I hope that this gives you a bit more clarity on what forgiveness is and how you can begin to walk toward forgiveness. If you like this content and would like to see more of it, go ahead and check out my YouTube channel. Alright? Till next time, much love. Peace.